Hello YouTube, thought I'd do a quick video here, but before I get in this video, I would appreciate it if you guys could share this video and my YouTube channel on social media, on Facebook, on the forums. I would appreciate that. Maybe even perhaps, I don't know if Midland or if Retevis or Motorola have a Facebook page. If it can be shared on that, I would really appreciate it. But yeah, so now this video, I was asked about a handheld. Can a handheld be used as a receive radio? Now, let me kind of explain here a little bit. I am going to put in the description below my email address. If you're interested in this repeater controller board, I'm also going to post links to the other videos I did on this repeater controller board. I'll post those links in the description too. You can go watch those videos. But this repeater controller board does not use a computer. There is no VOX. There's no radio modifications. So when I say no computer, that means there's no Zello, there's nothing. This is just strictly a repeater controller board that lets you take two mobile radios and make them into a full repeater. It does not matter what frequency the radios are. It could be GMRS, it could be amateur band, it could be business band, it could be any mobile radio, as long as the mobile radios, the receive radio has a speaker out jack, and the transmit radio, you're able to hook up a cable on the microphone jack, and you know the pinouts for that radio because you'll be hooking up the transmit radio to the screw terminals that are on the board accordingly, meaning PTT, ground, etc. So you need to know the pinout of that radio. As long as you have those type of radios, we could take any radios mobile and make them into a full repeater. Now, with that being said, you should only do this with the frequencies you are licensed for, and make sure that particular frequency that you're doing this with allows repeaters. Not all frequencies allow repeaters. It's kind of like the old saying is, if you buy a car that can go 100 miles an hour, that don't mean you should do it, and it would be illegal. So that's kind of the same principle here. So make sure that you do it with the frequencies you're licensed for, and make sure that frequency allows repeaters. Okay, so now the other question I get is, can we mismatch radios? Do we need to have them be both 50 watts? No. You could have a 50 watt transmit and have a 5 watt, different brand names of radios. Matter of fact, one of the radios I'm hoping to get my hands on, I did a video about it, is the Midland 5 watt weather alert mobile radio. Now, the weather alert, that would come over my repeater. If you have a radio that can get weather alerts, that should come over the repeater. And the nice thing about the weather alerts, it does not use internet. The weather alerts are being transmitted from your local or whatever is close to you, the emergency broadcast band, or however you want to word that. So if you can receive that to your repeater, then you should get the weather alerts. Now, like I said, weather alerts are different than weather announcements. Weather alerts only come on when there's an actual alert. But the point being is, we don't need to have the same wattage radio. We don't need to have the same brand name of radio. That's kind of the whole idea behind this repeater controller board. We don't need radios that have a data port on the back of it to make it into a repeater. We can use just about any radio. So that's the kind of the nice thing about it. Now, when I say any radio, I should be a little more clear. Obviously, I cannot guarantee 100% this is going to work with every model of radio out there. Now, I'm shooting for 80 to 90, 95% maybe, I'm hoping. That's what my goal is. Now, I do have on the interface board a adjustment to compensate for different radios. So that seems to be working, but again, this is still in test phases. I'm still got to test all this. So that's, with that being said. But so far, so good. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a sound test. We're going to be using a handheld as a receive radio. This is programmed through the receive frequency. We're going to use this setup, the amplifier with a handheld, as a transmit radio. Obviously, this handheld is programmed to the transmit frequency I want to use. This is a full repeater now. This is hooked up to a dummy load, which you can kind of see back there. I do have a duplexer hooked up to it, which is down here. A duplexer is not needed. However, a duplexer makes life a little bit easier. If you don't want to use a duplexer, then you got to run two separate antennas. And even at that, those antennas got to be a minimum of 30 feet apart. Even at that, you still may have desense issues. What I mean by that is the receive sensitivity of the receive radio will be reduced because the antennas are interfering with each other. So to avoid all that, it's just best to get a duplexer and have that duplexer tuned to the frequency you're going to be using your repeater setup for. So that's why it's just best to get a duplexer. So I do have a duplexer hooked up. The only thing kind of downside about a duplexer, it does take away the power. What I mean by that is if I have a 50-watt transmit radio feeding into the duplexer, by the time it comes out of the duplexer, it may be 42 watts, maybe 40 watts, depending on the duplexer and all that. So it does take a little bit of power away. That's kind of the downside of the duplexer. But it's much easier having one antenna than running two antennas and two coaxes and then worry about desense and all that stuff. So best is to get a duplexer. So that's the setup we have today. These radios are not being used. They're not even turned on. I use those in other videos. Matter of fact, I'll post if I haven't mentioned it already, I'll post in the description below my email address if you're interested in this type of repeater controller board. And I'm also going to post the links to my other videos that talk about this setup and me testing the repeater controller board. So now, with that being said, let's go ahead and do the sound test. After the sound test, I need to talk about how I have this hooked up. I had to get an adapter. Not a big deal. I'll explain more of that a little bit later. So the first sound test we're going to do is I have this programmed to this repeater. I have a handheld also programmed to this repeater. I'm going to key up this handheld, and when I talk on it, I'm going to capture the sound coming out of the speaker out on this radio. It's going to be fed into the USB sound card, and you're going to hear that's going to be sound test number 1. Sound test number 2 is going to be the microphone that's in front of the radio. The microphone's about an inch away. That's going to be sound test number 2. You're going to be able to hear how it sounds coming over the speaker on this handheld. If you're wondering what handhelds I'm using in this video, it is the Retevis RT97S models that I have. This one is an RT85, this one, that one, and the one that I'm going to be talking on is also an RT85. So let's go ahead and do the sound test. When I do the sound test, I'm going to disable the microphone that I'm using now so you can get a better, clear sound. Now, I like to mention, as best as I can, I'm way too close to be doing this. But I got the volumes, I believe, adjusted so there ain't so much feedback. At least I hope so. Or not too much interference. But if you hear a little bit, that's because I'm way too close. So let's go ahead and try that. Matter of fact, this is on high power. I forgot to turn it down to low power. So this is actually going to be putting out full power on this through my dummy load. So let's go ahead and do sound test number 1.
Radio check. This is sound test number 1. This is capturing the sound coming off this receive radio, being fed in from the cable here, hooked up to a USB sound card. This is sound test number 1. Radio check. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 3, 2, 1.
So there you go. That's sound test number 1. Number 2 now, we're going to use the microphone that's in front of the radio. I have to unplug this cable to turn on the speaker and microphone on that radio. So we have to unplug that. So hopefully I have this set up here. I'm also going to turn off the lights so you can see this working. It's easier to see the LEDs with this. So what you're going to see here is you're going to see LED lights hopefully come on. Hopefully you can see in the camera. I believe you can. On the repair controller board, you'll see a green light on here. This is a receive. You'll see a red light on here, a red light on here. This is transmit. Then you're going to see a green light over here because that's going to be receiving this. So this sound test, we're using a microphone that's about 1 inch away from the front of the radio, so you can hear how it sounds coming over the speaker. Hopefully I got the volume adjusted halfway decent. So let's go ahead and do that sound test.
Radio check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is sound test number 2. This is capturing the sound from the microphone that's in front of the radio here, so it's about 1 inch away. Sound test number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So there you have it. So that's how it sounds. It sounds pretty good. Now, truth be told, I didn't design this interface board to work with a handheld. So I still got to do more testing. If something happens to come up where it doesn't stay working the way I want it to work, I will post in the comment section information about it, and I will pin it in the comment section if I find any issues with this type of setup. So I also want to show you something. This kind of, as I said before, this does not use any VOX. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this handheld and I'm going to plug in a plug into the microphone like this. And what that's going to do, that disables the microphone in this radio because there's no cable hooked up. I'm going to key this radio up, and you're going to see all the lights turn on, and I'm going to key it up. If this is VOX, that should not stay keyed up maybe a second, maybe 2 seconds, somewhere around there. And I'm going to show you this does not use any VOX. And now, on top of it, if you know what VOX is voice activation. Well, I disabled the microphone so it can't even hear any background noise by plugging that in. And I'm not going to talk when I do this. So let's go ahead and key this up. There you go. So that just shows you it's not using VOX. I disabled that microphone so it can't even pick up background noise by plugging that in. By plugging that in like that. I plugged it into the microphone jack. So there you go. Now, like I said, though, I'm still testing this. I have not really tested this. I did have to get an adapter on this, and I'm going to show you what I mean. The cable coming off my repair controller board is a 3.5 millimeter. The hookup, the speaker out on handheld, or at least most of the handhelds, is going to be 2.5 millimeter. So I had to get an adapter, which I had one on hand, but you can order them on eBay, really cheap. But this converts 3.5 to a 2.5 so I can plug it in. Obviously, I had to use an adapter here, unscrew the antenna, and this is hooked up to the duplexer. That's how I did this. So I have this on battery for this video. That shouldn't make a difference if I hook up a battery eliminator. A battery eliminator is what it is. You take the battery out, and it's an adapter that lets you plug it into a cigarette lighter so that you're not using the radio battery. But in this video, I just have it on battery. This one is on battery eliminator up here for the transmit. So and I have the volume. I had to adjust the volume. And the volume on this radio If 6 o'clock is off, it's about 7 o'clock. Now, that could vary from radio to radio, but that seems to be the best setting for this radio that didn't cause an issue. So there is that. And like I said, this adapter cable or plug. And I'm going to show you that here. Let's go to the computer. This is what I'm talking about. This, as you look at this, let me get my fancy little pen here. If you look at this, you plug this. Let's go to this. Let's do it this way. Actually, this way would be better. If you go to, and I'll post this link on my forum, and I may post it in the description below. So if you click on this and you look at this, let me get my pen. You can see here that you plug in a 3.5, which is the cable coming off the repeater controller board, and then it converts it to a 2.5 mono plug. Now it says mono here, but my cable on my repeater controller board is a stereo cable. That doesn't seem to cause an issue, as you can see. But that's what this adapter does. So, but, like I said, I got to do more testing. I didn't, design this interface board to work with a handheld as a repeater control or as a full repeater. So I still got to do some more testing on that. So that's what that is. And I'm going to show you a little bit more. Let's go to, if you look at this, and just to kind of explain this more, on a radio here, this is the microphone, and this is the speaker out. You can see the difference, and that's why you need that adapter. Matter of fact, the 3.5 that I was plugging in to turn off the microphone is the bottom one. The top one, speaker out. And usually the radios are kind of marked with little symbols here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's why you have to have that adapter on there. So yeah, so that is like I say, I still got more testing to do. I'm still playing around, but so far it seems to work fairly decent. That just kind of shows you that you don't need to use the same type of radios to do this. Whether it can be different brand names, different wattages, whatever the case may be, you can use something different. So there you have it. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. Please subscribe. Thank you and have a good day.